person.
Well, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? You know, I've been in your
Doing
inbox
good.
trying to get with you for a minute because I am just confused. I'm lost. I've been doing the ancestry or whatever, just getting information on my name, my last name, right? I'm originally from Chicago, born and raised in Chicago. My mother, everyone. My grandparents, both mother and father, on both sides, are Mississippians, supposedly from Mississippi. My last name given to me, all my life I've been told it was Cherokee Indian.
It was what?
Cherokee Indian.
Cherokee? Okay.
So,
Makes sense.
so no one. It's funny because no one like know any information. And my grandfather he passed in '83 before I was born. But my grandmother, my mother, her no one has any information in regards to this man and his family. But it's a lot of us drink waters in Chicago. And I just don't understand that. So when I
Okay, now
started,
let me tell you our culture. This might help you understand it. Some of the men in the era had more than one wife.
mhm,
And when the invaders came, if they knew us because we would have more than one wife, and they'd murder us, which made the women then tell him, "You gonna either stay the fuck over there, or you just gonna stay over here. You not gonna be jumping back and forth." So he might have had multiple households that all of them got the same last name, and they might not. None of them know each other,
wow, that's interesting.
right? But it was done. It used to, before the invaders came. Everybody would have knew. It wouldn't have been no secrets. But they was using that as the means to murder us. So the women became protective and made the man have to choose to be with only one part of his family.
Mm, that makes sense. They had 9 children together, but supposedly my mother in specific, is not his. Which I honestly, in my heart, I feel some truth to that, and that's what I was saying when I was asking you a question about if I'm real. I didn't get a chance to finish typing because I'm like my grandmother, and I've been very peaceful, and I know that I get that probably from over there, and so it's important for me
The
to
most
have that
important
book.
thing for you after what you went through, the most important thing that you know is the why did they put that in our culture? If they wanted to traumatize you as early as possible, as severe as possible, because 9 out of 10 you have the blood right to claim a position of prominence in our community, and they wanted to tarnish you mentally, to scar your mind. So they abused the body in order to dement the mind, to keep you from ever wanting to know who you was.
Mhm.
Because the follow up to what they physically do in the process of rape is the shaming campaign that follows,
Mm.
which makes women not ever.
Some don't want me.
So they go through life trying to hold it in until it explodes,
Mm.
right? This, as long as you holding that in, you can never attain your highest height because that type of trauma keeps you always on the defense and always in a fear mode.
And like my grandmother, her sisters and her brothers, they know, but no one will ever open up their mouth to say yay or nay if my grandfather, as I know, is my mother's father. But I feel entitled to my name. I feel entitled to my name. My baby son, I had to name him. after me instead of all of the other children. Is my husband, but I had to name my baby son a drink water purposely because he's the last one.
Okay, stop. What you telling me is something that's common in our culture.
Oh.
Whether that guy was your mother's biological father or not,
Mhm.
there is a strong love bond.
Mhm.
The love bond is stronger than the blood bond.
Okay.
And your mother is the one telling you to name your son. Is she still here?
Yeah, but she didn't want me to have him.
So is her mother still here?
No.
That's who it is. She driving that car. She's the one telling you to name him that.
Mhm.
She's saying that your grandfather was a good ass man no matter what the fuck he did. He
Okay.
took care of his business and his family. So she creates in you from the mother line, she's able to tell you because you are oracle, right? You just haven't been accepting of your own gifts.
Mhm.
You kind of run from them a little bit.
Mhm. I'm
But
working
she
on
can
it.
communicate with you strong. And she's the one who was putting it on your heart to name your son that after him. That's a
Mhm.
love bond and a love relationship that's stronger than any blood relationship.
My grandmother was a hard ass vice lord though. She ain't play. She was straight. My
She
most
probably was
my
one of
ever.
hey, she probably was one of my mama friends.
And my family still carry it. We're from
Look,
44th and Cicero, Leclerc Court.
yeah, my mom and them used to be all through there. My father used to run on 43rd in Prairie and Calumet.
That's
My
crazy.
uncle used my uncle had a gambling joint on 43rd and Calumet in the basement.
That's crazy. And then my daddy is Summerall, so they from down there too. But I haven't even stepped into them Summeralls over there. But my daddy is a Summerall, so it's like everyone in Leclerc Court, I am related to in some form of way. Some form of a way.
Yeah.
Everybody is my cousin. But thank you. You gave me something. That Oracle situation, I really am working on that because I don't know how to get around it to like open up to it.
Okay, so look, you got to determine what training wheels you need. The training wheel you'll be drawn to by the energy that connects you to your family line. It's going to either be tarot cards or crystal ball or the rune stones, or it could be the I Ching. Just look into it. Don't make your mind up about nothing. Just look into them,
Mhm.
and then you'll get a feeling, and you'll know. I need a crystal ball, or I need a mirror, scrying mirror. You know, you'll just know, and that's when you'll start the training to tune in to the inner voice.
Okay. Thank you.
And you do you got a picture of your granny?
I can get one. I don't have one. I can get one. Yeah. Yes, I do have one.
Because if you make an ancestral altar, put two white candles, one on each side of the picture,
Mhm.
right? And you can honor her with water. But if you know what she like if you know she says she die her advice, Lord, she might want to smoke Newports
She
and
want a
drink motherfucking
Budweiser.
Hennessy.
She want a
Right.
Budweiser and some
So
damn
when
fish
you
fries.
honor her, you give her what made her happy.
Okay.
Don't nobody else gotta agree with it. Don't nobody else gotta understand it. But it's called creating a sympathetic link,
Okay.
right? So then it'll start getting where you'll be comfortable feeling her energy to the point when you'll know she when she there. It'll almost be like you come in to greet her with a beer and you can hear her saying, "Hey, baby, brought my beer. Come
And
on in here with
that's how
grandma."
I think I do with my cousin, but I'm in the
right?
world also.
So when you listening, when you dealing with the author, listen for her voice. And all of the chatter that go on in this box, say just cut it all off. Say, go on, I just want to hear grandma.
Mhm.
Right? And she'll push her way through the crowd to the front.
And I think that's what my auntie do in my dreams. My auntie Jackie, she does that in my dreams. I dream about her a lot, but I seem to think or hear my cousin Demetrius more. But I know that my grandmother is in here and she is driving.
She could be the one trying to tell you to bump them straight. Look, but they are cold. They masters of trying to make people do what's right.
Mhm.
Right? We just got invaded from a mirror dimension where they elders only wanted to do what's wrong. But in
Mm.
a dimension, everything wrong to us is right to them.
Everything is opposite.
Yep. Upside down and backwards. So your granny will send you who you need to correct or who you need to work with in order to heal the family line,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
So Granny orchestrating it. She y'all big mama. She was the matriarch. So when she go on the other side, she gonna orchestrate it into the matriarch that's got the most links in the physical world cross over again, and then they gonna work together,
I don't know. I don't
right?
understand that part, but I'll figure it out. I'm gonna ponder
It's
upon it.
like a baton race, relay race with the baton,
Mhm.
right? When the matriarch that just crossed over go over, they give her the baton. Okay, you run this race now, and you communicate with them motherfuckers down there because you the one was down there with them,
Mhm.
right? Because it's gonna be a whole new generations that rise up. That the one that's on the other side, they didn't work with the energy before, but and from that side, but now when the new matriarch cross over, she have to work with that energy because she know everybody intimately and up close personal in both physical and spiritual.
And she understands
Where
my
the other,
language. She
right,
understands
where
my
the other
language.
one,
I
yeah,
speak
where,
to her and sing to her, and she understands what I'm. I know who you're talking about.
hmm
That's the right
so
one.
that's how they operate. It's a relay race. It's the same here. We the elders now. There was a time when we was the children and we was the promise for the future. But there was
Mhm.
only one promise for the future, and that was for redemption for all the dirt we didn't was suffered through the past.
Mhm.
So now we came back to recover, redeem, and restore everything that they tore down.
And
As Pac say, we back for everything they owe.
yeah, this investigation book, just like you said. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You welcome.
My heart is beating fast. So thank you. I appreciate you, Grand Wizard.
Okay, sweetie. You be in touch. I'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you. Good
All
night.
right. Yeah. Okay. Look and see if I got a question before I cut out. You don't need permission to take your child out of school as long as you disassociate from this whole system. Watch the animals. When the animals disappear from any area, it's time to get the fuck low. If the animals run the high ground, that's where you need to go. If the animals run to the low ground, that's where you need to go. If they run to the high ground, most likely it's water coming. If they run to the low ground, most likely it's weather, wind related coming, right? And just pay attention to the animals from wherever you at, and you should know what to do from there. I'm gonna take one more call, y'all. Or maybe I'm not. Yeah. All right, so that's a wrap on this one. Be ye warned, don't fuck with them chosen ones. This is one of the few things that y'all need to get. Them certain ones, y'all don't need to be messing with them. Jackie Wilson, baby, y'all need to leave that girl alone. Let her go about her business. Cause y'all mess around trying to put conjure spells on her and that shit come back 10,000 times fold. Don't say you wasn't warned. Leave that girl alone. That Blue Rose Tarot, Blue Rose, don't be over there fucking with that woman, heckling her on her shit. She minding her business, trying to do what's right, following spirit. The guy gonna whoop y'all ass, and the guy gonna come from within you. It ain't gonna come from outside you. But y'all can't be fucking with them chosen ones. No, that shit over with. And we not even like our ancestors, our elders, because we not kissing y'all ass this time. We kicking it. And that's the way it is. So let y'all be warned. Before y'all start fucking with the ones that's trying to do what's right, you either should help them or get the fuck out the way. Don't try to interfere with them doing what's obviously the right thing to do. Right? So with that, I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank y'all for coming over. Hope I was able to be of some good service and assistance to y'all. And I'm off and running to the next day.
I went to Tuskegee Institute back then. It's Tuskegee University now, and we had professors that was putting people on game back then.
Mm-hmm.
So we right now, what's happening now is everything's come full circle.
Yep.
Yeah,
It all got to, all the bullshit got to come to an end now.
that's it. It's celebration time now. We done
Yep.
did the hard work.
The heavy lifting, as they say.
Been called crazy. Then been put out the family and said, "Oh, he don't know what he talking about." Now they
I
all
tell a
running to you for
motherfucker in a
question
heartbeat.
now.
I tell a motherfucker in a heartbeat, I'm the heat me. The rest of them Christians.
That's
I'm the
it.
one that'll go out in the woods with a goddamn cloak on and make a whole motherfucking turnaround to a situation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's it. That's me. All day long. Yes,
But
sir,
first,
man.
I gotta try to do it on its own merit before I use any of that shit.
That's true. That's true. I do have one question for you, though, Rod. Before I
Mm-hmm.
get off here, um, in the area where I'm from, there's a tribe, a local tribe, and I volunteer with them, and we hand out food and everything once a month. And they've been trying to get me to link up with them and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I'm with the nation. You know what I'm saying? But I just ain't with the politics of it. But do you think that's a wise move to join in like that?
You feel your way through that one, player.
Hmm.
You got to
Yeah.
know the people you dealing with, and know that you tied to the land, and you know their ears too.
Right. Right.
They don't necessarily got to look like us to be on the frequency,
Hmm.
but they
Right.
behave. Their behavior pattern is a pattern that we call righteousness.
Right.
That's their default behavior pattern,
Right.
right? So that's why they talk about in all them books, the ways of the righteous, they talking about the shit that we gonna automatically do anyway, just because it's the right thing to do.
There you go. And
We don't
see,
need
really,
no,
how? Go ahead.
we don't need no excuse.
That is.
Speak. You see a man. You see if a man be mischaracterized, and you see the mischaracterization. Speak the fuck up.
That's it. That's
You
it.
don't,
And,
you don't know your voice contributed with the voice of everybody else speaking the fuck up and make a difference.
that is. And kind of, I'm like this. I always been the type. If I'm gonna test to see how deep the water is, I ain't gonna put both feet in there. But by working and doing volunteer work with them, I had a chance to kind of see the ins and outs and how people are and how they do things and everything like that. So I'm feeling my way through it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you got to ask yourself certain key questions. How
Mm-hmm.
did you get there? What brought you there? And why are you there now?
Hmm. Yeah.
Look at the energy you riding in your life when you ask the
Mm-hmm.
question. Then know where the energy from the land is guiding your steps.
Mm.
You ride
Yeah.
you ride the energy frequency of what they call a prelayed pattern. According to the turns you make, the pattern unfolds itself. And when you run into a bad spot, that's where the door stops. Boom. And then you monkey flip until you can see your way clear.
There you go. I got you. 100%, my brother. And just let you know, I'm just thankful, man, that source has brought you in here at this place and time. You know what I'm saying, to reveal the information that we needed and to unify the people on right knowledge about who they are, not what people have told us. You know, because I'm from the older generation, and most of my friends, they stuck in that old way of thinking. But this is the time that we in. I tell them a lot of times. I say, man, y'all can stay there if you want to, but you don't either have to get right or get left.
And all this shit can be read about in the prophecies of Edgar Cayce, Nostradamus, the
Hmm.
blind Baba from Russia, the blind sheikh. All of these motherfuckers prophesied the same shit at this particular time. They gave it the great teacher will arrive somewhere around the year 2019, and he will begin to teach nations.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Right?
sir.
They all prophesied the same thing. They just told it from a different way.
From a different perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we got to understand. Too many people think that their opinion of something is what it is, and it ain't about opinions. It's about truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's many ways to get to the truth, but the truth ain't but one thing. What it is,
Well,
what it.
you know the story of the world just lie.
Yes, sir.
So truth just running around with the lie just running around with truth clothes on. But I just stripped that motherfucker bare down to the butt naked truth.
But naked. That's what we call it.
Mm-hmm. So
All
now
right, my
you,
brother.
yeah,
I just gonna tell you, man. I'm gonna drop down, let somebody else get in, man. I just wanted to holler at you, acknowledge you, and let you know, man. I'm
appreciate
on
it.
the same page with you. I'm riding with you, brother, all the way to the bottom, to the top.
Yep, till the wheels fall off this motherfucker.
Yes, sir.
All right, peace, God. Media has become the universal method of communicating around the world. We can get on Facebook and Instagram and do a video that reach people in China, Japan, and in Europe,
Mhm.
right? Where years ago we didn't have the option when Malcolm X was around and um, Dubois and Mega Evers. They didn't have the option to have the internet and to stay in the safety of their home while they tell the people what's really going on.
Right, they couldn't.
The ones who used to try to figure the problem out instead of going out in the streets marching, I ain't finna do that. Not for my own shit. I'm not finna be out here buck dancing for these people. Not for my own shit. And Mama had to leave me a means to find what's rightfully ours and how to recover it. And one of the things she kept saying to me was always look for the wisdom, right? And so, understanding that, I searched through the minds of great thinkers in order to find out what is this stuff they call wisdom. Because if I can't buy it in a bottle, I got to find it somewhere. I'm thinking this as a child. So if I can't find it in a bottle, where am I find it at? Right? So the discovery comes in is you find the wisdom at the feet of the masters, right? The first master is mama. So starting from mama, who says the stuff that gives you the best result when applied to life? And this, as a child, made me pay attention to the elder women.
Mm.
And the elder women was the ones, especially the ones that talk harsh and use profanity. We call them big mamas. They harvest the energy of Prime Creator in order to be guides to the family. Under the patriarchal system, we've been taught to call them old bitches and don't pay them no attention. And they telling us the solution to all of the world's problems, but we ain't listening as a collective. Some of us do. Some of us know if mama say don't go down that street because something bad gonna happen, go the other way. Because if you go down that street, you're gonna walk right into the BS. I did it 1,000 times because I learned the hard way every time. And the hard lesson is the lesson that you're gonna learn and gonna internalize the deepest. Because it's gonna hurt the most that you keep going through the same foolishness. But when you wise up, that's gonna become entrenched in you as your biggest lessons, the ones that was hardest to learn. And the hardest lesson to learn was at the feet of the masters is to follow the voice of the women who give wise guidance. And you can tell the difference by the character of the women, right? So when I see you on here complain about them calling Noble Drew Ali a false prophet, some in my soul say you can't just let that go. You got to say something.
Mhm.
So I said something.
You
A
did.
lot of the Moors is like, what is this thing? Where did he come from? I thought he hated all the Moors. I keep telling them over and over, I'm not anti-Moor, I'm anti-dirty Moor. So, and so I started studying great people because I didn't really know what a master was. But the great people's information, they give references to other great people who turns out to be masters, right? And in our community, each one teach one, we all got to reach some. And if we reach enough, we can spread the information. Now, the land, the Mississippian rule. This is deep culture, organic North America. Any culture that comes on the land, we have to have a significant influence on it through the arts and the entertainment. So we can use these things in the time of crisis to communicate the recovery from the oppression or whatever adverse force overtakes us on the land. Now we have to time the solution in order to correctly end the problem. So, in the course of the studies, when you run across Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali, Prince Hall, David Walker, Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois, you don't look at them in their conflicts, you look at them in their agreements, right? So they
Mhm.
tell us that Du Bois and Garvey don't get along because Garvey is what you call a totalitarian recovery expert. In other words, he come to recover the whole of the original structures from its original source out of the Blue Lodge, where Du Bois comes from a different angle or perspective of view. He said that only a 10%, what we call the talented tenth, will ever do anything of significance to rise to positions of prominence in any society. Therefore, we should focus on isolating that talented tenth and maximizing the input in the bank, right?
Mhm.
Now we go from the talented tenth to um, a 5%er, right? Because all of the talented tenth is not working in the interest of the collective. Most of them is working in their own self interest. We don't care about that. You can work in your self interest, but you have to leave an indelible impression that can be read by future generations to leave a blueprint or a pattern to put the puzzle pieces together on how to recover from the condition, right? So the 5%ers teach that 85% of the people blind, deaf, and dumb and don't know what's going on. And 10% of the people know what's going on and they're not doing nothing about it. But there's 5% of the people that know what's going on that's working to raise the other 85% to awareness to overcome the tyranny of the 1% who was extracted from the 10%. So the 1%ers is what they call the people that's ruling the world as elites. Has a system at play, and if we figure out their system, we can reverse engineer the society in order to find out how to get back to our rights and our ability to reclaim the land based on our birthright to the land at the close of the age. Most of us don't know that it's a universal law that we are obligated by universal law, the organics of the world, at the close of every age, no matter what's going on, to shut it all down. Anything that is destructive to the ends of the collective is dispensed with, and anything found to be a benefit is used as a bridge to the next coming age. So now we leave in the age of Pisces, the water age of believing, to the air age of Aquarius. But remember, the Aquarian man carries a pitcher of water that's being spilled. Water is the symbol for spirit. So what it's telling you is we going from spiritually believing stuff with no information to support why we believe it to the mental aspect of spiritually knowing exactly what we see in the Aquarian age. So earlier I was saying about we had to be able to see the signs significantly enough in order to know when to take to make our move. Now, I came out to do this work when I came home from prison back in 2008. But everybody I went to shut the door in my face. They all said that I ain't have no degrees, I ain't had no alphabets behind my name, therefore I wasn't qualified, right? But not until Farrakhan gave a speech and Khalid Muhammad left and he said, "You think I didn't need a brilliant mind like Khalid Muhammad?" Well, Khalid, my man. I'm just like that motherfucker, but I think a little deeper, right? Everything he be saying, I feel that way, but it's one problem. He was trying to go against the rules. He was trying to fight the enemy in the physical when it's a spiritual war taking place, right? You can't fight a physical war that's spiritual. You have to fight the spiritual side and let the effects manifest in the physical arena. In this case, we use universal law weaponized to fight tyranny and oppression around the world. And after you go through the dark night of the soul, you begin to see the pattern in which universal laws apply. And this is where me learning the functions, structure, and intricacies of civics and the changing of rulership in past historical contexts in both hostile situations such as a coup d'etat to more amicable transformations such as a king seceding from the throne and another king ascending in his place. There is a civics solution to the problem. Well, the first time I became aware that there was a civics solution to the problem is when Noble Drew Ali said that I started a civics organization. The contradiction that made me raise an eyebrow is ask why are they pattern it now as if it's a religion, right? So that took me back to Albert Pike's The Morals and the Dogma. Because under the civics, there's no dogma involved because you unraveling the legalese. But if you can get them to chase the dogma, they won't really take the civics serious enough in order to exercise a superior jurisdiction to overthrow the imposters on the land because the only way you can do it is to go back to your original system. Your original system is a matriarchal system based off the oral decree of the chieftains in agreement across the land, that which benefits the most amount of people from each of the clans.
Wouldn't there be necessity really to go back to the original system in doing that, wouldn't there be a necessity of shedding ourselves or divorcing ourselves of all the religious attachments, the dogma that we've taken on to be, Christians, and to be, this
Well,
denomination, that, I mean, from a standpoint of when we realize that those things were actually put in place to put us under subjection.
right.
So
So the
would we have to
religious,
shed those in order to get back to the original?
um, at this point of the discovery process for the collective, they can use whatever path of spiritual development they choose to, as long as they don't turn a blind eye to the other paths, right? And this is where the polarization comes out, as Noble Drew Ali called it, as a religious controversy. We are remember we are allelopathic, and we are naturopathic first, right? That means that all things have to go back to a stasis, which is the state of balance, right? So when you abruptly tell somebody who's been in the church for 75 years, hey, drop that some garbage. The shock to their system could cause a healing crisis to a significant degree to make them lose their mind. If you go back to Elijah Muhammad, he said if you wake them up too soon, you're driving crazy. And that's why he used to keep saying, make it plain enough for a baby to understand it,
So
right?
what are we trying to get folks that are steeped in any level of dogma to understand? From what my where I come from, having been a pastor for 10 years,
Hmm.
and seeing the good and the ugly. You see it all, and in between.
Okay, so
But
let's
yeah,
use.
I mean, I'm saying indoctrination, and like you mentioned earlier, 12-step program, and the various all of these things were things that affects the mind of people. Fear, reverence, so that you don't think outside the box. Having to reverence something that is unseen while ignoring the obvious inside of yourself. All of those things to me have been designed to not allow us to get back to the natural. I mean, you're saying, I know, don't, and I do know what you mean about not waking up folks too soon. I mean, or not all of a sudden. Although for my personal awakening, it hit me like a ton of bricks when I was in a service, and all of a sudden I was snatched out of it in an out of body experience. And the next day, I'm up in the pulpit preaching my swan song, because right after that, I'm everybody's going, because now I'm like you say, crazy. They say about you, I was crazy. But for me, maybe that was the way it had to happen. And but for the masses, when you to get critical mass, and nothing really happens, I don't think, until you get enough minds thinking the same. So in your going through, I want to go back to your dark night of the soul before you get too forward, because you kind of skipped over. You said when I came out of prison in 2008, but what about those years prior to 2008? What how about the time when you were, you ended up apparently veering from what Big Mama was saying, because you were running up, maybe you were running from your calling, but in that captured, if you will, situation. What happened to you there? What were you doing during those times?
So when I first got caught up and locked up, I remember the voice of sisters that I used to hear give words of wisdom. I was in Cook County Jail. I was in there. I was like on my second or third day in there, and a bald head guy named Hawk came with a sister. I can't remember her name, and they were actually Christians, but she wasn't coming with the dogma. She was coming with raw common sense. And one of the things she said was that stuck with me. And she said, some of y'all finna get a lot of time. She said, but don't waste it. worry about that. You can't stop that. You put yourself in. There is no escape, even if you want to. She said, but the best thing that you can do is don't let them take the time from you. Use the time. Learn everything you can while you in there. You don't need no degree, but get your PhD. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, that makes so much sense. So this, if I apply this to my prison term, if I get time out of this, and I apply what she's saying, when I get out of prison, I can have the knowledge of a professor at a university in the amount of time that I'm about to get that I don't know I'm about to get this much time, right?
Hmm.
And so in the end, they gave me 18 to 50 years in prison, right? And during my Cook County stint, well, that was like a year and a half, I end up coming across. I just started realizing that all of the um, most potent members of our community, the organic indigenous people, was in these cages, right? And I got introduced by different ones by different people. Like this the leader of the Maniac Disciples name is Ferg. I met my cousin introduced me to him on our way to court, right? Then in the bullpen, it was some BGs, black, what they call black gangsters, that was high ranking, and he introduced me to them, right? I had a vice lord introduce me to Willie Lord, and it was kind of odd to me when he done that because um, we in we walking through the day room, he calling me over there where his chief at to introduce me to his chief. But he told me beforehand, he said, man, I want to introduce you to Willie Lord, right? And I was like, okay. And because we was watching him on the news get arrested. And when he got in there, he was downstairs in a cell block called ABO in Division 1. So he came up on a visit. They brought him up to A1 where I was at. And so Lil J, who was a 4-star elite vice lord, he said, come here, man, I want you to meet somebody. And he walked over, he said, stay right here. So I'm standing on the other side of the day room, and he went and said a couple words to Willie Lord, and he waved me over there. He said, hey Lord, I want you to meet him, man. And he told me who I was, his name Rod. And back then I was studying with a Nation of Islam guy named Everett X, who was teaching me about now this is all within the first year of being locked up. But he was teaching me Nation of Islam doctrine, and they was calling me Rod X, right? But they was calling me that like a nickname because I hang out with the Nation of Islam guy all the time. But they all knew that I was under the GD banner. And so when he introduced me to Willie Lord, the whole day room stopped talking and they looking. And what he said caught my attention. He said, hey Lord, this one right here, this the one. I don't know what that shit means, right? And he shook my hand and he says, it's good to meet you, young brother. He said, stay on the straight and narrow. That's all he said. He didn't give me no conversation. We didn't go into nothing. We just greeted each other, but he told me to stay on the straight and narrow. I know what that means from church, and I know what that means from Everett. And we discussed it, right? Staying on the straight and narrow mean walk straight, right? Don't let these people push you off your path.
Hmm.
Now, when Everett X had to leave, he went upstate, and the last thing I told him, I was like, man, this is a big deal. I don't know if I could do it. He looked at me, and I could see the Elijah Muhammad in his face when he started smiling. And he said, oh, you got this. And then he recited the story of Hiram Abiff. And he said, you're going to need that later. And then I heard Farrakhan go over the story of Hiram Abiff, right? And
Mhm.
when I started studying the story, after I got out of prison, I started seeing certain events unfolding that was unnerving to me because this was starting to tell me there's a Masonic connection to my birthright. So now I have to study the lodges deeper than I already have because I was going through a secret society investigation while I was studying with the Nuwabians in prison. So we was going through, well, I was going through each secret society reading entire text on them. Where Malachi had a book out called Secret Societies Unmasked, where he got a little part about all of them. So I started to get books from their perspective about their doctrine, right? But it became more enhanced when I came home, right?
Mhm.
And um, so during the course of these years, normally my temperament, I would have been, I would what they call ready to ride. I was always ready to ride, but it had to be one condition: I got to be right. The only reason why I feel like that is because my mama used to tell me when I was little that don't start nothing and you're gonna always win it. You got to always be in the right. So I don't start nothing, but I sure finish it. I don't got no problem finishing it. And I remember my father saying that a man always moves straight. He said, man, don't do all that funny, swervy, shifty stuff. That's not how he was talking to his friends in our garage. So this was one of my lessons on being a man from my father that really impacted my life because I always came at people straight. And mama said, respect those who respect you. But you got to give respect to get respect. That means if I'm at your house, in order for me to get respect at your house, I got to first give you respect. I got to come in peace in order to receive peace and the blessing up on arrival. So everywhere I went, I held that in the forefront of my mind. And everybody that I met them from a level of respect and it was returned. And this is why, as a GD, I'm over in Motown on 50th in May, living in the complex in an all stone neighborhood. The only folks is on 50th place, right? So I gave them their respect because that's their land. I already know to honor them on their land and give them their due respect. And they drew an attachment to me from being respectable and being respectful of their place. So I ran into a couple of confrontations with some of the stones, but it was always resolved in a manner of respect. So I didn't ever have a problem with stones and vice lords being stones and vice lords. I didn't never see them as enemies because I knew we had the same enemies. So I didn't know how to categorize what I'm looking at, but I know that whoever it is that's infiltrating stones and vice lords is the same people infiltrating the GDs. I understand the literature of the GDs. And I understand the literature that I was given by vice lords. And I understand the literature that I was given orally by Stones and Crips and Bloods. And I'm seeing a pattern that this is the behavior that's ancient on the land. If this behavior is ancient on the land, I got to see it somewhere else. Here, lo and behold, it emerges. It's the structure of the Nation of Islam. It's the structure of the 5% nation. It's the structure of Yahweh ben Yahweh's Hebrew Israelites. It's a repeating pattern. It's a tribal structure from the top to the bottom. How we used to perform in the old ways where we was in all parts of the land, but we never had conflicts with people on their portion of the land. Because we understood that who we are is predicated up on honoring those in respect when you in their house. You can't come in somebody's house and just superimpose your will. So whoever the imposter is the ones who came in our house and is doing what we don't normally do.
Makes sense.
So when I start tracing it back, I end up with the 32-degree Scottish Rite, Morals and Dogma, George Washington, Albert Pike, um, um, the guy that started the Illuminati, Adam Weishaupt.
Mm.
Three different personas of the same person. But most people can't see the pattern. I couldn't see the pattern originally until I was studying forensic profiling and the mechanics of it. And I wanted to do a forensic profile on the biblical God character, which turned out horrible, by the way. Turned out horrible. Turns out that he's a sociopathic narcissist, early bedwetter who has mama issues and daddy issues and don't know his own identity and sexuality, who feels that he should be held in superiority to other people just because who he is, where other people become less than him. This biblical God character can't be no God. He got to be some kind of mortal masquerading as a God through written literature because that's not the characteristics of the God form. So that came from a Q&A that I had in Saginaw Correctional Facility with some University of Michigan psychologists who came to do a lecture at the prison. And during the course of the lecture, I had asked them, had anybody done a psychological evaluation of the biblical God character because I couldn't find it. And they assured me that as far as they knew, one of them had like 35 years in psychiatry and psychology. One was a psychologist for over 45 years. The other one was a psychiatrist for over 40 years. And none of them had heard of anybody having the audacity to do a psychological profile in the since it became known on this character from the Bible.
Now, with that, let me just interject my little bit of my knowledge from what I learned versus what I was taught versus what I learned afterwards in awakening process. We see God in the Bible somewhat as schizophrenic and bipolar and can't make up his mind about his love or hatred for his creation, when in fact we're not talking about one being, we're talking about more than one. We're talking
Hmm.
about at least two majors and then minor
But
characters
okay,
who
so
will
that
come
goes
in with
back
it.
to what that's the schizophrenic tendencies and the sociopathic personality disorder. Bobby E. Wright wrote a book called The Psychopathic Racial Personality. That's the God character summed up in under 200 pages.
But if he is making this so-called God into one being with all of these personalities, I tend to disagree. I see multiple beings
Right, because you're
competing
looking at it for what the
competing.
story you're looking at
Yeah,
it for what the story is saying in its original language.
right, right.
I'm looking at the God that they given the people
In the Bible.
in the they saying it's the God of the Bible.
The so-called Bible. Well, I mean, they created the Bible anyway, so
Right.
it is the God
But
of their
even
Bible.
that,
They
but
created the Bible.
right. But even that, the character, right? We know
Hmm.
that the character comes from a series of gods merged into one person. What we call it a condensed God formula. They take all of the gods, give them one name as one person, and you change those names in the translation, and the layman will never know.
Right.
But the biblical seminarians know they lying to the people, and in order to get they preaching certification, they just go along with the lie,
That's what we do.
go along to get along. So if you continuously go along with the lie, you can't liberate nobody or free nobody mind because you live in a lie.
but I'm gonna say this, Rod, just like I've said when the times when Grand Sheik has made this like sort of like
City in California flood should raise your eyes because the people in California, they don't. It's too dry out there to have
Yeah,
flood like
that's
that.
right. That's right. It's too the way the ground. Then it's mountains. A lot of parts. When you start going more west.
So now we talking about Atlantis underwater.
Okay.
All right, now this is an article where the drowned guys live. Believe it or not, but this is what modern day Atlantis looks like. Right? Lost beneath the waves, the depths of the oceans are lined with sunken cities, flooded crypts, drowned forests and structures. While some are completely submerged, others are partially waterlogged. These drowned cities hold myths and secrets of the deep. Here's a glimpse of the sunken world lost to watery wreckage. Now, what this is talking about, they got actual whole cities that they found under the oceans, right? Like if you look up Bimini Road, let's go look it up just so we got time.
Hey, we gotta look up that word maroon too.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to it because that's part of the Gullas. The Gullas is they called them Maroons when they was they chased them out. This is a group of islands off of the Carolinas, and I'll show it to you. But right now we on what I tell you put it in there?
Shit, I went blank too. Shit. Start with a P.
We was talking about Bimini Road. Bimini Road.
Bini.
No, Bimini. Bimini Road.
Oh yeah, Bimini Road. Got it right here. Oh yeah, you on something here, bro? Let me say this in your folder.
Yeah, so when they telling you Atlantis sank, this is what they talking about.
All right, let's go. Let's do it. You want this
you
map
see that
right
lion underwater statue?
Yeah,
right
I got it right here. I got it.
You see the diagram? Get the diagram too, so they can see the layout.
I got it. Now you already know. I got it. You already know. That's a good layout right there because you got this right. I ain't never heard of this. This is another part to my Atlantis tape. Let me get this like a Ishtar it look like Hathor.
Now this over here, right?
Yeah.
Now the next one is we're gonna pull it up just so we can have the picture so we can just go through the pictures real quick. The other one is Japanese underwater city of giants. Giant city. They got stairs where one step is like 13 feet high.
Let's see what we get. All right, here we go right here.
Mm-hmm. This is on the other side of the world from what you just seen.
The mirror flip.
Bimini Road is down near Cuba.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. It's somewhere down there. This is in the Pacific.
Can it be a 3 mirror flip? So where it's three
Oh yeah, we ain't done.
Okay.
Remember I told you that there was that they rerouted the Nile to fill in the Mediterranean.
Yeah, you told me it, yeah.
Watch this. Underwater Alexandria, Mediterranean.
Oh yeah, you going somewhere with this one.
They believe that they discovered Cleopatra's tomb down there recently in the last couple of months.
See, underwater Alexandria, right?
Yep.
All right. Let's see.
Did you put in Mediterranean?
Oh no. Hold on, I gotta put that in now. It's right here, supposed to be it right here, right? Look,
See
hey,
what
look at
that
this
right under
Egyptian
that.
statues. Oh shit, son.
There you
Look at
go.
this
Now
shit.
you own it. Just click on there and you can see our pictures under that to stay with the same topic.
Okay, all right.
Because
All right.
all of them, that's dealing with the same underwater city.
Get the hell out of here. Why they ain't telling niggas about that, bro? Look at this. This is all the Egyptian shit, man.
Yeah, that's in the Mediterranean, right off northern Egypt.
Oh yeah, it's our land anyway. We already know.